since we don't have much left, and for optimal use of time, I'm calling on Dr. Abla to merge the second and third sessions. We need 10 more minutes to continue the discussing the situation of civil aviation in Egypt, and then we're going to open the floor for questions. Thank you, Dr. Abla. Very quickly, General Abdel was discussing the measures taking and there is a new study commissioned by the Scientific Research Agency that agreed with the conclusions of international studies, meaning that opening the skies are going to be very beneficial. The current situation of the sector has already been covered by Engineer Megid. The passenger traffic, total passenger traffic in 2016, and the capacity of the airport. We've discussed these slides before. So the assessments from these studies point out that the capacity of the airports could be increased. The assessments also show an increase and very positive results due to the liberalization of of air travel in Egypt. But the bottom line that the ticket fares, the ticket prices are going to drop, and the GDP is going to increase. The recommendations: Egyptian airports need an update. All the airport processes and facilities need to be upgraded and improved, including the quarantine, the health, luggage personnel. There are different agencies that have overlapping supervisory functions. We need non-discriminatory measures that should take into consideration the use of landing and takeoff rights. We also need a clearer policy, and also to remove all the hindrances for better competition. And we need also establishment of new roads. All of these are the results of the studies that have been conducted by this team. Also entering into alliances and international alliances and trademark restructuring of Egypt Air, and enhancing the Egypt Air network through Cairo Airport as a hub. However, I'm more interested in what's coming next. There is an annual increase in passenger traffic, an increase in job creation, and also an increase in the contribution of the air travel, contribution in promotion of tourism. All of these are measurable aspects. However, this study also adopts international criteria for the assessment process. This was one of the strengths. However, for the weaknesses, there are some answers that have not been addressed. What would happen in the case of incurring losses? This is a very dynamic situation also. So what I've been saying before still applies till this day. There is a research gap. The research methodology is going to take all of this into consideration in order to reach a reasonable analysis for the benefit and the revenue. The ECES has a very strong interest in that. The conclusions coming out of the studies, as much as they have been beneficial, they are also provoking. We need to reconsider the issue. The initial results were questions. And these questions are the ones that should be put to discussion from the speakers and the audience members. We need to answer the questions and not only to complain of spilled milk. What are the pros and cons of the liberalizations outside rather than the increase of the passengers? What are the expected incoming tourism, and what kind of tourism, and how willing already the tourism sector is to benefit or to capitalize on the liberalization. And we need to hear from those working in tourism. What is the quantitative analysis of these results, these outcomes? Are there any quantitative measures that were mentioned? The ready-made garments are shipped through the sea, while the other perishable products, such as agriculture produce, are transported via air. Flowers, for example, represents a very strong potential, but without strong air traffic, we stand no chance. What is the added value for the last stage of liberalizations? What if we extend this liberalization to include the Cairo airport, and what if we do not? These are the two situations that I wanted to compare. The situation is dynamic. The situation is really fluid. Sometimes the benefits are to be gained from the initial steps, but sometimes going the extra mile does not add anything. So does the fact that most countries adopted open sky strategy, does it compel Egypt to follow suit? there must be an improvement of performance in order to pay off the debts of the holding companies. Are we part of the international, or are we one of the players on the international arena? Legislatively speaking, what do we need in order to maximize the benefits? And we're still studying the outcomes. These questions remain unanswered. And we pose different scenarios. One of them is to continue to proceed with the current situation, which is enforcing these partial liberalizations apart from the capital. Adopting an immediate or a prompt liberalization strategy and to implement it across the markets. The adoption of an immediate liberalization on one single market, or even adopting it as a pilot project. The adoption of a liberalization and a staggered liberalization policies over a certain timeline, with the condition of restructuring Egypt Air. Because without the restructure, there is a waste that should be revisited. This waste is not intentional, it is a structural waste. Just like the public sector, the companies themselves were unable to make profits. So the restructuring process is inevitable. We want to know how competitive the sector is. We want to know the cons and pros of each scenario, and wanted to conduct a general assessment of the alternatives and the markets that should be focused on, and what is needed to resume the liberalizations, and the timeline needed for implementation. The additional studies, we're gonna need an aviation and a technical aviation team to work with the staff, with the ECES staff, and we need recommendation in this respect, because there is no one sound study that could be conducted without the help of technical professionals. The same applies to the exporting industry and the tourism industry. And I would like to remind you that in the methodology we're talking about figures. I should conclude with a numerical analysis. Even the things that cannot be monetized, we have to monetize them for the cost and the benefit over the certain duration. This is how any decision, economic decision, should be assessed. There must be a cost-benefit analysis conducted, and if the benefit exceeds the cost, I should apply them across the different alternatives and conduct the sensitivity analysis. However, I'm going to go back to the questions and the alternatives, and I'm going to ask from the speakers to comment on the unanswered questions. I'm going to stop here with the questions.